Talent can be a divine blessing, yet for some, a unique gift becomes a life sentence in a world of shadows and echoes. Today we explore the tragic life of a master restorer, a man who could deceive the entire world with his hands, but never his soul. In this workshop of ghosts, every stroke is a whisper from the past, and every color is a mask for a hidden identity. These faces carry a profound sadness, for they are beautiful lies born from a man who has forgotten his own reflection in the mirror. The curse of perfection is a heavy burden, turning a creative spirit into a vessel for the greatness of those long dead and gone. Anonymity is the price of his genius. To be the best in the world, he must first agree to be absolutely no one at all. The music of his life is a somber cello melody echoing the hollow halls of a gallery where his name is never spoken aloud. Let us step into the forge of deception, where art becomes a crime and the artist becomes a prisoner of his own incredible skill. He mastered the alchemy of age, learning how to make the new look ancient and the lie look like a sacred, undeniable truth. Each chemical reaction is a calculated step away from himself, a meticulous process of erasing his presence from the history of art. In the shadows of great museums, he watches as his creations are praised by experts who believe they are beholding the works of gods. Wealth flowed into his pockets from the pockets of the elite, but money cannot buy back the identity he sold to the highest bidder. The contrast was jarring. He lived in the grime of the present while his work basked in the glory of a fake manufactured past. He read the headlines with a bitter smile, knowing that the masterpiece the world celebrated was nothing more than a ghost of his hands. They spoke of soul and history, attributing profound meaning to every line he had faked in a moment of cynical, cold-blooded, technical precision. Each flash was a reminder of his invisibility. He was the ghost in the machine, the silent architect of a multi-million-dollar illusion. The market hungered for the rare and the ancient, and he was more than happy to feed that hunger with his brilliant, soulless clones. To survive, he had to kill his own voice. Yet he sacrificed his creative future to maintain the lies of a dead and profitable history. He had built a career on deception, but the walls of that deception were slowly closing in, becoming a prison of his own making. Success brought isolation. He stood at the center of a world he created, yet he felt like a stranger in a house of mirrors. His muscles had a memory of their own. Even when he tried to be himself, his hands insisted on being someone else entirely. The frustration boiled over. He was a master of every style except his own, a virtuosic singer who had forgotten his natural voice. The money was a gilded cage. Every dollar earned from a forgery was another link in the chain that kept him from true freedom. Nature itself became a reference library. He could no longer see the world for what it was, only for how it could be faked. Time was slipping away, spent on honoring the past while his own potential withered like a flower kept in the dark for years. Yet he compared himself to the greats and felt small, not because he lacked their skill, but because he lacked their courage to be original. His soul was a blurred image, a mix of stolen ideas and suppressed emotions that had no clear shape or direction in the light. The blank canvas was his greatest enemy. It demanded a truth he was no longer sure he possessed after years of professional lying. In the silence of the night, the weight of his anonymity felt like a physical pressure, a silent scream in a crowded, noisy room. Even his grief was artistic, yet it only served to ruin the perfection of the disguise he had spent so many hours carefully building. He envied their struggle and their messiness. They were poor but real, while he was wealthy but entirely, heartbreakingly, and utterly artificial. He was a chameleon of the canvas, changing his colors to survive, but losing his essence with every transformation he forced upon himself. Who was he? The answer was buried under layers of lead white and vermilion, lost in a labyrinth of borrowed techniques and stolen names. Deep down, a spark of his true self remained, waiting for a chance to break through the crust of his elaborate and profitable deceptions. One rainy afternoon, he found a forgotten chest, a time capsule from a version of himself that existed before the money and lies. It was a painting from his youth. It was imperfect, technically raw, but it pulsed with a life that his perfect forgeries lacked completely. In that small, humble piece of art, he saw his own soul staring back at him, unburdened by the weight of imitation or greed. Driven by a sudden, desperate need for truth, he decided to show the world the only thing he had ever made that was real. The critics, tired of the sterile perfection of the market, saw something in that raw canvas that they hadn't seen in many decades. They called it a pure expression of the era, a rare example of an artist who chose honesty over the safety of established tradition. The irony was a sharp blade. They loved the man he used to be, while the man he had become was a ghost to them. For a brief moment, his name was known, not as a master of the past, but as a voice of the present, unique and irreplaceable. He tried to return to that purity, but the years of forgery had stiffened his hands and clouded his vision with the ghosts of others. The awakening was painful. He realized he had spent his entire life building a monument to people who didn't even know he existed. His wealth was built on a foundation of sand. It was the profit of a soul that had traded its birthright for a comfortable lie. He was the greatest, second best, in history, a man who could do everything except be himself in a world that finally wanted him. He had committed artistic suicide long ago, and now, though the world was only just beginning to attend the funeral of his potential greatness, the truth was a bitter pill. He had mastered the art of others, but he had failed the most important art of all, himself. His awakening came too late to save his career, but perhaps it was just in time to save what little remained of his spirit. In the final act of his life, the artist decided to burn the bridges that led back to his world of beautiful, profitable deceptions. One by one, the lies were consumed by the flames. The masterpieces turned into ash, losing their power to imprison his identity any longer. With trembling hands, he prepared to leave one last mark, not as a student of the past, but as a man in the present. It was just one line, but it was his line. It was the first honest thing he had done in 50 long, successful, empty years. His breathing slowed as the sun set. He had finally stopped running from himself, finding a quiet peace in the wreckage of his lies. The death of an artist is not the end of breath, but the moment they realize they have nothing left to say. Farewell. From this tragic tale of hidden genius and stolen identity, we must gather the 3 most important lessons for our own lives. Lesson 1. Identity is your greatest asset. Do not waste your life building a world based on the standards and expectations of others. A humble original will always hold more intrinsic value and historical weight than even the most technically perfect and expensive copy in existence. Your name is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Protect its integrity with everything you have, for it is your unique legacy. Lesson 2. Beware the trap of short-term gain. Fast profit that requires you to sacrifice your core values is a poison disguised as honey. Sustainability comes from truth. Anything built on a lie, no matter how profitable it seems today, will eventually crumble under its own heavy weight. Do not trade your future self for a momentary comfort, as the price of such a deal is often higher than you can ever afford. Lesson 3. Lasting legacies are built on honesty. Only when you are sincere with yourself can you create something that truly withstands time. History remembers those who were brave enough to be different, not those who were talented enough to be the same as everyone else. Your uniqueness is your contribution to the world. To suppress it is to rob humanity of a light that only you can provide. Even in the end, it was the small truth that mattered more than the massive lies. The world eventually seeks the genuine heart. Take this story as a warning and an inspiration. The tools of your talent are meant to express your soul, not hide it. Imagine a world where everyone dared to show their true colors. It would be a masterpiece of diversity beyond any forged perfection imaginable. You are a one-of-a-kind creation. There is no need to copy a master when you were born to be a masterpiece yourself. Reach for your own truth, no matter how difficult or unpolished it may seem at first. It is the only path to real fulfillment. Remember that the greats we admire were once just people who refused to be anyone other than who they truly were inside. Break free from the cages of imitation. Let your talent be the wings that carry your true identity to the heights it deserves. The story of the anonymous master is over, but your story is just beginning. What will you choose to leave behind for others? May you have the courage to be seen, the strength to be honest, and the wisdom to value your own unique, beautiful voice. Do not wait until the final hour to realize that your talent was meant to define you, not to serve a lie. End.